Brooke Pryor covers the Pittsburgh Steelers for ESPN, and she joins us on the Adam Gold Show because apparently Aaron Rodgers is stalking the Pittsburgh Steelers. Is that really what is going on? He visited yesterday. Did he visit in person or did he do it virtually from a darkened room?
He visited in person on Friday,
Ooh.
I believe. All the days are really running together. But funny enough, so I live about a mile and a half from the Steelers practice facility. I did that so that I wouldn't be late to things, and yet I still find a way to run late or right at the deadline every single time. And Friday morning, I said, all right, I'm going to get up and I'm going to go for a walk before I sit down on my couch and do nothing but watch college basketball the rest of the day. So I got up. I went on a walk. I walked right by the Steelers facility about a couple miles, and then I turn around and come back. And I had just passed it when I got news that he was at the Steelers facility. So then I turned around and went back and sat my happy butt on, there's some stone benches, a little area right on the trail across from the Steelers facility. So I sat there and I watched the gate for 15, 20 minutes, trying to see if I could see him coming in or out. And then I called my editor and said, what do I do? And he said, well, would you be capable of doing a TV hit in your current form? And I said, not even a little bit. I'm in workout clothes. I don't have a mic. I don't have an extra phone. I don't have a tripod. And he said, go home and take a shower and be ready. We need you to be able to represent ESPN, and you're not there right now. So it's a good thing I left because he was at the practice facility for 6 hours, departed without a contract, which is not a surprise. I'm sure the Steelers would have liked to get him to commit to something while he's there. But the way I look at it is Aaron Rodgers is going to do this on Aaron Rodgers' time. But the fact that he was in Pittsburgh is a positive for the Steelers. You don't take a visit to somewhere unless you can see yourself playing there, working there. And if you're the Steelers, you don't bring someone in unless you can see them being a part of your organization. So it's a step in the right direction, but who knows how many more steps there are to go to get to that final destination.
Brooke Pryor, who just walked us through her entire Friday, which was awesome. I have many questions, which I am not even going to ask at this point, maybe another time. Do the Steelers really want Aaron Rodgers?
I mean, they're certainly committed to the bid if they don't. I think that at this point, all of their eggs are in that Aaron Rodgers basket. I mean, I think that my understanding is that their option 1A was Justin Fields. Their plan 1A was Justin Fields.
Ooh.
They offered him a contract. He went with the Jets, and I do not get the sense that they liked him so much that they were willing to get in a bidding war with him or with the Jets to acquire his services. So their plan 1B would appear to be Aaron Rodgers. Russell Wilson would appear to be plan 4, 5, 6, maybe not even on the numbers, because I go back to what Art Rooney and Omar Khan said right after the season, that it was their preference to sign either Russell Wilson or Justin Fields, and preferably to do it before the start of the league year. Well, Russell Wilson is still out there, and he is unsigned, which would tell me that their priority is Aaron Rodgers, because if they wanted Russell Wilson, they could have him. And I don't know that this is trending in a direction where if they don't get Aaron Rodgers, that they would fall back on Russell Wilson. To me, they signed Mason Rudolph so that they didn't have to fall back on Russell Wilson. But, things change. Things are very fluid. But that's just the sense that I get at this point.
So, because personally, I think Aaron Rodgers is, for the most part, washed. And I think the Jets have an offensive line situation that's probably similar to the Steelers. It's occasionally good, mostly just kind of okay at best. And I think he's got similar receivers. Certainly, DK Metcalf makes George Pickens even better. And now you've got two bona fides, even though Pickens is a little bit of a wild card too. I'm not sure how well the Steelers didn't run the ball all that effectively last year with Najee Harris. He's gone. You've got Warren. You've got Kenneth Gainwell in. So I'm not sure what that offense is like. I'm also not sure how many places Aaron Rodgers has. The Giants just signed Jameis Winston. So I'm not sure how many options Rodgers has at this point. Have you checked your phone the last couple of minutes? Maybe the Steelers are about to sign Rodgers and you got to get called back.
Listen, my phone is connected to my Apple Watch, and every time it buzzes when I'm doing a radio interview or something else, I am constantly checking my watch, and I live in fear, but also maybe live in hope of relief that this is going to be over soon. I will say that Aaron Rodgers, the best thing for him about Pittsburgh is that there are question marks in a good way, because yes, the line was not stellar last year. The run game was not stellar last year, but there are enough changes that are on the horizon or in the process of happening that could be a positive. They could also be a negative, but if he is an optimist, which I don't really know how Aaron Rodgers sees himself, but when I look at the Steelers' offensive line, they parted ways with Dan Moore in free agency. That paves the way for Broderick Jones to move to left. Broderick Jones was their starting right tackle for most of last season, and he did not have a good season, but he's naturally a left tackle. This is the position that they envisioned him to be in when they drafted him. So you move Broderick to left. That opens the door for Troy Fautanu, last year's first-round pick, to start at right tackle, which is what he was drafted to be. And he missed almost the entire year with a knee injury. So there are two potential upgrades on the line that I think help a lot. You've got a really good center in Zach Frazier, who's young. You've got Mason McCormick at guard, who is showing promise, showing signs of development. And then you've got Isaac Seumalo, who was injured for a lot of last year, and I think he's still a top-tier offensive guard. So those could be improved. I think the run game with Gainwell and Jaylen Warren, I think they'll also add a back in the draft. I think that can be improved. The biggest question mark for me with Aaron Rodgers in this offense is that he does not necessarily do the things that the Steelers offense wants to do. He's not, at this point in his career, he's not throwing the deep ball all that consistently or all that the volume isn't there. That's what Russell Wilson does. When you get DK Metcalf and George Pickens, you would seem to want to use a quarterback that can get them the ball. Mm-hmm. He also doesn't throw to tight ends very often. Why would you pay a tight end like Pat Freiermuth if he's not going to get the ball? He's a much better receiving tight end than he is a blocking tight end. So I would think that you'd want a quarterback that can maximize those weapons, but I think the Steelers are looking at it like, look, Aaron Rodgers is a Hall of Fame guy. He's a 4-time MVP. He has more left in the tank, and we can work with him. We can make our offense work around him. But it's not, to me, a seamless fit.
I don't think it's a fit either. Not to mention the fact that he can't keep his reservations for that trip to Egypt or wherever it is he's going to go during the middle of training camp like he did last year because Mike Tomlin won't have it. For some reason, Robert Saleh allowed it. They declared it an inexcused absence, but it didn't cost Aaron Rodgers anything but the fine. The dumbest, the worst example of leadership on both ends that I have ever seen in professional sports. It's not like Rodgers didn't know that his trip in the second week of August was happening during NFL training camp, and he still did it. It's just amazing the power he tried to flex and successfully did, I guess, on the Jets. All right, let's go under this assumption. Rodgers and the Steelers can't come to some agreement because I can't imagine that the Steelers would allow Rodgers to miss the mini camps and all of those things that Rodgers doesn't really want to be a part of. So let's just say that it doesn't work. What's next for Pittsburgh? Because they have a defense that is good enough to compete if they have the right quarterback. So what would be the next plan?
That is $1 million question, maybe a draft pick in there.
Right.
I think that at this point, I could see them drafting a quarterback and going into the season with Mason Rudolph as QB1, maybe waiting to see what vet QBs get cut. I don't get the sense that they want to go back to Russell Wilson, but I get the sense that he would be willing to come back. I think that he wants to be in Pittsburgh. But the options, I mean, they've really painted themselves into a corner here, and the best thing for this organization would be to get a mid-round quarterback. Don't use your first-round pick on a quarterback. This is not a deep class. That would just be repeating the mistakes of the Kenny Pickett year when you had to get a quarterback. I think you go into the season with Mason Rudolph as QB1, and I know that that's a wild thing to say, especially given the kind of rockiness of his career. But I think that if it works, great. If it doesn't and you bottom out, you get a high draft pick for next year when the draft class is much stronger. And maybe you get to draft a top 10 quarterback with the draft in Pittsburgh. Like, that's what a launch point for your next franchise quarterback. But the Steelers are not an organization that is content to tank. They are not going to take a mulligan of a year. Like, that's just not a thing that they do. But, I mean, to me, that's the smartest move long-term for the organization if you don't get Aaron Rodgers. But I don't know that people in that building are comfortable doing that and are okay going into the year knowing that, like, this could be the year that all of these streaks end, because they don't like to think that way.
Where will you be? And I guess the natural second part of this question is, will you be in workout clothes when the Steelers sign Joe Flacco?
Oh, gosh. I mean, first of all, I live in workout clothes 99.9% of the time, so there's a good chance that I will be in workout clothes, whether or not I'm actually exercising. But you can bet that it will be the most inconvenient location, because that's just how it works. That's Murphy's Law of being a reporter. So probably in Scotland. I'm planning to go in a couple weeks with my mom. So I look forward to petting a cow in the Scottish Highlands, or looking for Nessie on Loch Ness and getting a tweet that Joe Flacco has signed with the Steelers, and I will just launch myself into the river or throw my phone into the pasture and move to Scotland and live among the Scottish people.
Can you write a quick piece on your phone about the surprise Joe Flacco signing?
I have done it before, so probably so. They don't teach you that in J school, but you learn that on, like, day one of the real world, is be able to write a full story on your phone in 5 minutes with as few typos as possible.
Exactly. Brooke Pryor, you're the best. Hopefully we'll talk again before you leave for Scotland at B.E. Pryor on Twitter. She covers the Steelers for ESPN. I wish you, because it will be nonstop fun, and I'll just put fun in quotes because I don't know what fun really means, covering Aaron Rodgers. I wish for you a season full of very, very juicy stories. That's all I can just wish for good stories and fun storylines. So I am rooting for me, and Aaron Rodgers would certainly give me that. So I'm with you. I'm hoping for that, and I'm hoping for that to be resolved sooner rather than later. You're the best. Brooke Pryor, appreciate your time. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for having me. You got it.